I didn't have my mic on. That's pretty embarrassing. I'm gonna start the stream off here. It's March 26th. It's my second stream of the day, and it's 10:13 p.m. And we're gonna dive right into it. Um, my chats aren't working very well, so like my Facebook chat is just doesn't pop up on my screen. Twitch and YouTube seem to be working okay though, so I think that should be fine. Okay, I'm gonna get started here. So let's see. Let's get Unity up. Wherever that is. Thought I might have the hub at the bottom. I do. And then while it's loading, let me just look at my to-do lists. What are we gonna work on next? Maybe set sprite of active layer cells to. So I think maybe get the second layer working, and so first be able to switch the active layer, and then when we switch the active layer, let's go ahead and uh, paint on that layer, and actually show both layers. I'm not sure that my tile grid is doing that too. So yeah, let's do that. Let's get the tile grid to show both layers, and then be able to select the different layers and paint on top of each other. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. So okay, I'm gonna make some of this small just so we can just look at the code. Great. So in order to do that, we are gonna have to first be able to change our active layer. So under our layers panel here, we have a layers list, and on the layers list, we have our active layer. And now I guess we have these two layer images. So if you click on any of these images, I'm going to go ahead and change it to the active layer. So I guess, do I do mouse listener here? The tricky thing with this one is I think mouse listener is listening for, I'm just curious. It might work. So if you are a mouse listener in a layer, you get clicked. I am going to just say, great, set you as the active layer. Let's try that. I think that'll work. I think that will work. Okay, so we're gonna make a new listener for this, and that's gonna be on the layers. And we'll just call this set active layer on mouse click. And it's gonna be a system. And so on the update, we're just gonna say for each var entity in get entities layer and mouse click event. If you click on a layer, which is one of those buttons, then it will select that as an active layer. So we're just get our layer here. That's our first item. Our mouse click event. I don't even think I need that. Okay. So we have the layer event layer. What we also need is a reference to our layer list, because that's what says what's the active layer. So to do that, we can just say get entity. I'm gonna say get entity item 1 layer list. So that will give us the layer list if it exists. So I'll just say if layer list. So if we do have a layer list, let's go ahead and just say layer list dot active equals layer. And all right, that's our code. I don't even need these parentheses. Is it that easy? We will find out. So let's keep an eye out on layer list. Right now, if I hit play, layer 1 should be the active list. But if I click on layer 2, wait, hold up. Put it there. Lift up my mouse. If I click on layer 2, it should be selected, but it's not. So this could be one of a few things. What I'm guessing maybe is that the text, yep, is a raycast target. So maybe if I uncheck that and click it and check the, no. But is this a raycast target? Yeah, this is a raycast target too. Let me just check the event system. Maybe this will give me some clues onto what's happening. So I have it over layer 2. It has point enter layer 2 game object. Let me go ahead and see if it's getting into this code before I stop it. So we're looking for layer and mouse click event. And oh, you know what I forgot to do? I do this all the time. Forget to add the script to the system, or to the game object. So let's see, set active layer on mouse click event. But I also think this text being a raycast target. Oops. Let's move that down. I feel like this being a raycast target, it's going to run scripts on this first. But maybe since it doesn't have a listener, it won't care. Let's check. So let's check the layer list. Ah, yeah, there we go. So if I click on layer 1, it's really small, but above my head, you can see if I click layer 2, it changes to layer 2, then it's layer 1. So okay, now we're setting the active layer. So we're going to use that to actually paint the tiles on those layers. So how are we going to do that? I think we got to do two things. First, we got to show both layers, and then when we're painting the tile, let's just make sure that we're painting to the active layer, which I think we're doing, but we'll double check it. Actually, let me just do a little testing. I didn't write any test code, so I'm gonna have to test this often. Just make sure like the grid sizes still work. Okay, can I still paint? Yeah, looks good. The other issue I was having is if I resize the grid, it will reshuffle everything. Hopefully that's fixed now. Yeah, looks good. But if I go back to 7, it deletes. It basically deletes when I go too small and then bring it back up. So I think that's expected behavior. I think like if you're a user, that would be expected behavior. Okay. That being said, I think all this stuff's being painted on layer 1. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can make layer 2. Yeah, let's do it. So first we want to show both layers. So when we're doing the tile grid, we want to... this is where it's going to get a little tricky. So we have tile grid. It has just a prefab, that's fine. But tile grid also has... let's just look at the actual object. Tile grid is the grid with the prefab, and it's also this grid data. Grid data right now is just a list of cells. So, did I close Rider? Okay, well, it's coming back up. So here we go. On the tile grid, we're drawing the tiles using this update tile grid system. And so basically we checked if things have changed, and if they have changed, well, I guess we're not even checking if they changed. But basically we're removing any cells that are out of the grid and then adding any missing cells in the grid. But now we're gonna have to do two different things. Instead of just checking the active layer, we're just gonna check all layers. And so when we're checking all layers, we got to find out what depth it's in, and that's kind of where I'm struggling right now. So one way to do that is simply just looking at the hierarchy here and just saying, okay, which one's the first child? That would be the layer 1. This could be the layer 2. And that might very well be what I do. And I don't find an argument against it right now, so I think I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to actually put the depth right here on the layer object, just so it's easy to reference. So if you're to like the bottommost layer, you'll be 0. If you're to the one above it, it'll be 1, 2, you know, so on and so forth. So, and then I'll just have something running in the background, just continuously checking to see if that's the case. So, we'll just call this update layer depths. And before I do anything, I'm going to put this straight onto the systems, and let's go ahead and make this function. So this is going to just look for all layers. So we'll just say get entities layer. Well, before we could do get entities, let's make sure we specify that this is a system. And so, alright, we're getting all the layer entities. And basically the layer is the first item of what we're grabbing. And, okay, so we have the layer. Thinking. What are we doing? Oh, we're just checking the depth. So we have this layer dot depth. And I think there's just something on the transform called sibling index. Get sibling index. I think this will work. And what I might do is on the sprite renderer, I'll use the same depth to render the tiles. We'll try it. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking, what if a layer doesn't exist anymore? Like, say we disable a layer, we shouldn't see it anymore. So I got to figure out a way to, you know, remove those that layer. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay. So we got the depth. So hopefully, if I just hit play, these layers will have. Oh yeah. I did a maximize on play. Your depth will be 0 and your depth will be 1. Okay, perfect. So the data's right. Let me not maximize on play. And so, right. So we have 2 layers at 2 different depths. And now we're going to check the tile grid to see how we can get it to draw both different layers. So for the tile grid, oh yeah, it's not the actual tile grid. When we're actually updating the tile grid, instead of just looking at the active layer, we're going to have to look at each layer. And then we're going to make the sprite renderer use the depth data as its order. Okay. So let's go. Okay. So instead of just getting this active layer, we're just going to go for each var layer in layers. Yeah, I'm going to continue that thought, but actually I want to do this function first. So remove out of range cells. So if the layer no longer exists, I'm going to go ahead and just remove it. So here I'm going to grab the layers, and we'll just say get entities. Is this the, oh, this is a static function? I'm gonna just make it a regular function because I need to get entities. Although, should all this just be static? Like, should there be different ECS systems? I'm gonna say yes, and it's gonna be based on scene. So maybe we can have a system per scene or something like that. So I won't worry about making all the static, because what if we need multiple? Anyway, sorry, sidetracked. I'm coming back. So let's just get all the layers. And I'm gonna grab the actual layer. So here we go. Okay, so we have all the layers. We're gonna check if the cell position is greater than 0. I mean, less than 0, greater than, what's this? Greater than the size, greater than or equal to the size, less than, okay, yeah, sorry. I'm saying it, but I'm not saying it clearly to everybody. So we're checking if the position is before 0 or bigger than the grid. We're checking if the Y is like less than 0 or bigger than the grid. Or we want to check if layers does not contain cell.layer. It's gonna say, is that expensive? Possible multiple enumerations. I don't know what you mean. What do you want? How do you want me to fix that? I think that's fine. Okay, so now we're just checking if the layer is active. If the layer isn't active, it shouldn't be putting those tiles in. So that's good. Now we just need to make sure we're painting to the right tile, or I mean to the right layers, and then actually showing both layers. So let's do that right now. So, okay, back to this. For each layer in layers, and we don't have layers, and we can just go ahead and grab that here. Oof, I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted. I won't. I want to make get entities item 1, and that will give me, you know, the first, will give me the layer objects instead of tuples. But I will refrain for now. For now. Okay, so we have layers, and per layer, we want to see if you have grid data. Great. Alright, makes sense so far. First, we're going to check if you have a cell on that layer. So c.layer. Do you not have layer? Am I outside of the parentheses and that's why you're not understanding me? I think that's what happened. Alright, so we're checking if you have a cell that has an X position, a Y position, and the layer. If you do, cool. If you don't, we're gonna see if the layer grid has that. And if it does, great, add that cell. If it doesn't, we're gonna add you. Okay, so we had the tile grid. We're gonna instantiate it. Oh, if you don't have that cell, oh yeah, we're just not gonna worry about you. We're gonna just continue on. Right, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So now that we have a cell on that layer, we'll go ahead and print that out. But if we want to visualize it, what we're gonna do is, like when we're actually creating the new cell, if we don't have it like being rendered on the screen yet, is when we add that cell, we also want to set that sprite renderer's order, I think, to the depth. So we have sprite renderer, and we're just going to grab it like that. We'll go ahead and say sprite renderer.sprite is the cell sprite, and we also want to make sure sprite renderer.order sorting order equals, we'll say layer.depth, and hopefully that will do it, at least for the rendering part of it. Now for the actual painting of it, let's see what we can do here. I think paint tile grid selection, we want to just grab the active layer. So first we're seeing which tile grid cell we clicked on, and so that's the thing, right? Right now when we're looking at the events of what's happening when we click, it's gonna cast a ray from the camera down, it's gonna hit the tile on the second layer, and it's basically gonna run this right away. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna hit the second layer every time. I just wanted to hit, like, this is what this whole thing is. I want to just hit the active layer. So I'm going to grab the cell regardless, but I'm going to find the cell that's on the active layer, not the cell that it actually got clicked. So let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that 2D because we're working on it right now. Alright, so we're grabbing the layer list. We're getting the active layer, cool. And we're grabbing your cells. I'm okay with that. And whatever, if you have a cell in that, just go ahead and do all that code I have below. I think I like that. I think that's how I'm going to do it. Yep. Okay. Okay, we're going to try to find the cell. So the cell is not actually going to be this cell. This will be the clicked cell. I'm going to take that out altogether right now. Alright, so the cell is going to be the clicked cells. Well, it's going to be cells where the cell dot position equals the clicked cell dot position, and the layer is going to equal the active layer. So we're grabbing the same position cell but on the active layer. Could be the same layer, it could be a different layer. So now that we got the cell, we can just do the cell sprite is going to be, give me the first or default. And yeah, go ahead and simplify that. Alright, so if you have a cell, go ahead and make that cell sprite that guy. Now, here's the other thing. If you have instances, in cell.instances, if that instance, let's do this even more clear. Sprite renderer equals cell dot instance dot get component sprite renderer. If you have like a rendering instance, go ahead and also change I think we could do this with shorthanded. If sprite renderer then sprite equals cell.sprite. I don't think that's gonna work. So I'm just gonna do it this way. If you have a sprite renderer, go ahead and change that sprite render to that cell sprite. So now we are doing both of those lines of code. We're changing the cell sprite and we're changing all its renderers sprites. Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so now that we've done that, maybe it all works. You know, hitting the play button, right? You gotta do that every at least 10 minutes, just in case. All right, so the good news is I'm painting and I see, oh, maybe I should make it bigger. I'm painting the cells, and what's great is I'm seeing that there's like a grid still on top, and I think that just means that I'm painting on the first layer. Now the moment of truth is if I click on the second layer and then start painting, aha, I'm actually painting on the second layer. So I think we're close to getting this layering thing down. Now, another trick we can try to make sure the layering is working is I'm going to disable one of the layers, like the second layer. Okay, I disabled it, but nothing happened. That's concerning. Oops, I didn't want to maximize that. Like I was hoping these cells would go away. I could see that the layer button's gone away. Now when I remove, okay, right. I guess the other thing I have to think about is the following. I've created those tiles. I think I know what's going on. I just gotta find it. So when I'm removing the tiles from here, all I'm doing is removing it from a list. I'm not deleting any game objects. I'm not doing anything. So what I have to do is wherever I'm destroying, like I don't want to destroy the cells though. I want the data to be there. That's why I kind of hate doing the destroy only here. Like I want to just be able to destroy from the tile grid, and I might do that right now. Oh yeah, I will do that now. I will do that now. So I'm gonna grab the cell. Oh, we already got the cell. The cell should have instances, right? And so if I'm removing that cell, I'm gonna go ahead and destroy those instances. I think so. Where you're a tile grid, because we're painting tile grids, and if we can't find you, we're gonna just go ahead and destroy you. So you're responsible for deleting yourselves. Okay, I like that. I like that. Okay, so to do that, we're just gonna grab all instances in my cell where the cell is a tile grid, where get component. What do I want? What do I want? Yeah, it's get component. Get component. And I want to see if you're a tile grid cell. If you're a tile grid cell, I want you gone. So let's just make this a loop for each rendered cell in this crazy thing. Go ahead and destroy rendered cell dot game object. Yeah. Okay, so this should be let me paint the new layer, and when I disable the layer, it should remove those game objects. Okay, so we're gonna paint the cell. I'll make it bigger so we can show it on the stream. So I'm painting on the first layer. As you can see, there's still like another layer ahead of us. I'm going to put some, oops, I'm still on the first layer. Let's go to the second layer. I'm going to put this concrete looking thing on the second layer. I want to disable the second layer and see if the concrete goes away too. Awesome. Now, does it come back when I click it? I don't know. We haven't really tested it. So, no, it doesn't. Is there cell data? Okay. Does the cell have anything? Okay. Oh, we've deleted it, but we had, you know what we didn't do? And that's probably why it's erroring out. I think all these are pointing to the deleted game objects. So not only should we destroy it, we should probably delete them from. Sorry. Yeah, we should probably delete them from the instances list. To delete should be this guy. Let's just put you in like a list or an array. I might just call you to deletes. We can name you to delete. Really, really bad naming here. We're going to destroy to delete, but not only are we going to do that, in your cell.instances, we're going to remove. You know what? I'm going to do this whole thing in a loop. It'd just be easier. And we're going to go backwards of the loop. I equals cell.instances dot count minus 1, I greater than or equal to 0. And we're going backwards because when you change a list while you're like iterating through it, like saying I'm deleting an element, like I don't want the I to get screwed up. Oh, and we're already using I, so let's go ahead and use J on this one. Okay. So first we're going to check if the cell instances J, oh, that's going to screw me up, isn't it? We're going to see if you have a tile grid cell. So we'll just say get component. Man, I wanted to do the generic one first. I don't know why it always chooses to do the non-generic one first. Alright, so we're going to see if you have a tile grid instance. If you do, then awesome. If you're a tile grid cell, we're just going to keep going. And we're going to say destroy tile grid cell.gameObject. And then we also want to remove cell.instances.remove at J. And there we go. And then we're also removing in the bigger picture from this cell. So we're moving from two lists. Okay. So let's give that a shot. I already forgot what problem we're trying to. Oh, when we're coming back, we wanted to see if we can get it to work again. Sorry, painting the cells. And I should add like a little checkbox here so you can enable and disable the layers without me having to go to the inspector, but we'll do that in a bit. So we have a map that we just drew out on layer 1. We're going to click on layer 2. We're going to try to draw something else on top of that. Okay, very nice. We got whatever this is. Now I'm going to go ahead and disable layer. I'm going to go ahead and disable layer 2. And then we're going to re-enable layer 2. Ah, we're so close. We got the grid showing back up with no errors, but something's still wrong. So if I go to 0, your cell is a grid square again. Okay. I'm sure I can still paint on it though, right? So like let's go to 0, 1 or 1, 1. So layer 2, let's go to this guy. You're at 1, 0. Yep, so you should be a concrete, which you are. I guess what's happening is when I disable the layer, you go away? No, you're still the concrete. Oh, I know. Uh, what's happening is when we re-enable it, it can't find the grid cell, and so I'm creating a new grid cell, and I'm just instantiating it, and when I instantiate it, I'm also just saying, hey, whatever sprite render is, put that into the cell sprite, whatever it is, and right when you instantiate a grid cell, it's going to be an empty grid cell. So I probably should check if there is a sprite on the cell, and if there's a sprite on the cell, bring that over to the sprite renderer. Otherwise, vice versa. Vice versa, vice versa. All right, it's going crazy. It's getting late. All right. So this is what we're gonna do. We are going to check if there's a sprite on the cell. If there's a sprite on the cell, I prefer to use that on the sprite renderer. Otherwise, do what we originally were doing. And what I might do, yeah. This could just be at the end, just to look different, because it's like an if-else thing. Okay, I'm getting there. So we got layers, we're doing our thing, we're putting blocks everywhere. This is still the first layer, screwed that up. Let's go to layer 2, let's put some sand on everything. Okay, layer 2, now we're gonna go ahead and whoosh it, swoosh. And then we let it come back, oh yeah. Now we can enable and re-enable layers. And let me just see if I can make this like a little checkbox or some button at least to toggle the layers. And if that works, that will be great. So yeah, we'll do that and we'll call it a night. I think that's great progress. So, okay, we have the layer 1, but we should also have maybe something in here. Do we have a checkbox or a toggle? Nice, that's exactly what I want. Alright, toggle. I am just going to not have a label. You're just going to have to guess what it is. But everything else sounds perfect about it, except maybe the size. The background, also make it as big as possible. The check mark, make it as big as possible. Oh god. But I will definitely size the toggle down using maybe this. This will just be a temporary fix. Maybe I can go to anchors and bring this to something where it gets close to 0. We'll just say 0.8. Alright, perfect. So now we have this toggle button. And we'll just say toggle enabled or something. And then just do the same thing here. Except don't do what I have here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Toggled enabled. So if we're gonna just look at, I don't know exactly how to handle this, but we will handle this. No problems. So to handle this, what we're going to do is we are going to create a script where we will do something. What will we do? Well, let's go to the layers. We're basically gonna monitor the checkbox, and then whatever the checkbox is gonna do the same thing to layer.enabled. And I'm hoping that does the desired behavior, which I haven't actually tested. So let's do that first. Paint on our first layer, paint on our second layer, and instead of disabling the whole game object, what if I just disabled the layer? That's what I was hoping. Beautiful. Oh wait, I never painted anything on the second layer. Second layer, let's put some more concrete here. Same question. Awesome. I think we're getting desired behavior, which is incredible. So let's keep it going. Yep. Ooh, I want two things. I want it all, but I'm gonna have like just a little bit of highlight on the active layer. So let's go ahead and maybe have, oof. I want the highlight. I want the highlight. Want the highlight. I know I keep saying it. I really want it. All right. I'm trying to figure out what I can do, what I can say. Maybe, just maybe, I can put the data on here. And what I'm saying is this, check if this is active. Am I the active layer? And what's going to set that is, of course, whatever is setting the layer list active. So whoever's touching that, I also want them to mess with the active part of the layer. Alright, who's doing that? Find usages. I really don't like how this is listed out. I want to anyway, just complaining. No need. You have two usages. I guess you're being used once here and once here. Okay. So here, you're being used just to do some checks. Oh, and I guess that's the second part. Well, I see you here. Okay, anyway. This is just setting the active layer to the default layer, which is fine. But before I do that, if layer list dot active. Oh. Thinking. Layer list dot active dot is active equals true. I'm just checking if layer active already exists, don't do anything, right? But if there is no layer, if this is null, then go ahead and set it to the first layer and set that true. That makes great sense to me. You're just reading. I do just want the right access actually, so I'm glad you are breaking this down for me. So I already did that one. So when I'm writing here, let's just do kind of the same thing. We're going to check if there's an active layer already, and if there is, go ahead and say is active equals false, because you're no longer the active layer, at least not yet. And then all we're going to do here is active equals true. So kind of two steps. We're inactivating whatever layer you were on, and then activating whatever layer you're doing. Cool. Now for the layer list, I'm going to put two new things in here. Public color inactive. Oh, you need to know what color is. Color is going to be from Unity. And I'm going to say by default you're just white. It looks like it's white in the background, so that's fine. If you're active, I'm going to say color yellow. I usually do yellow for like a selected thing. Oh, active color. Inactive color. Yeah. So white and yellow. I like how it highlights it. Just in case you don't know what color yellow is, that's what color it is. Okay. So we have our layer list. We have an inactive color and an active color. And then we're just going to color layer UI. Color active layer UI. I already know I need to remember to put that on the systems. This is going to be an ECS system. And we're just going to pretend like we have lots of entities. In entity and get entities layer list. We are going to get the layer list. We're going to iterate through each layer. For each layer in layer list.layers, if layer okay, yeah. Oh, just give me a sec. If layer is active, we are going to set the color. Layer set color. That's the thing. How are we going to set the color? That's what I need to figure out. So we're on the layer object. It has an image. So I'm just going to say get component image. It's expensive, but I'm just getting through it right now. And image is part of the UI. And we'll just say color equals layer list dot active color. Else we're going to set this as the inactive color. Okay, so we have an active color and an inactive color. And it's just going to do that for every layer. I think that's going to be good. As long as it's getting updated correctly, that should be fine. Is there anything else I needed to do? I mean, that looks fine to me. Okay, let's see what happens. Nice. Oh, very cool. So, okay, now we have which layer we're on. I haven't done anything with this enable disable thing yet. So when I paint some tiles here, let's see if I can just pop that up, the tile grid. I'm painting on layer 1. If I do layer 2, I am now painting on layer 2. And if I theoretically uncheck the layer, you shouldn't see it anymore. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm glad I'm getting the notion of layers put in here. Let's finish off with the enabling and disabling of the layers, and then I think we will be done for this time around. I'm actually quite curious. If I disable the second layer, what happens? If I disable the second layer, are you still in the layer list? You are still in the layer list. Okay. That's good to know for now. That might change and that might break all my code. But for now, I think that'll be okay. So we'll just call this enable disable layers. This is going to be a system. I missed. It's going to be a system. And as we update, we're just going to grab the layer list. And what am I doing? The layer list is entity item 1. We are enabling and disabling the layers. So for each layer and layers, we're going to try something here. I'm going to say toggle equals layer dot, oh wait, that's not right, layer list dot layers. Layer dot get component in children. If you have a toggle, layer dot enabled equals, I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to check if the toggle exists at all, and is the toggle on? Uh-oh. Oh, you don't know what a toggle is. So toggle is in the UI. Alright, so is on. Okay, so basically the layer is being enabled or disabled based on the toggle. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, I'm going to paint some stuff on layer 1, and let's toggle. Ah, nice, nice, nice. How about toggle layer 1? Oh, good. So now we can like paint on layer 2, untoggle it. This is great. This is great. All right, I think that's looking quite nice. I think we got what we needed to get here. Okay, so we have the notion of layers, which is awesome. Yeah, let's just take a peek at what's coming up next. I'll commit my code, and then we'll just call it a night from here. So yeah. Actually, I just did that one. On-click layer, set active layer. That is now done. We're close. We're close. We want to be able to export the layers to CSV. I can work on that. Paint sprites when holding down the mouse button. Awesome. We'll work on that. These features. Good. I think we're getting closer. We're definitely going on the right track. So let's check out the data. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what to work on next. I think I'm just going to work on the features I mentioned here, because I think zooming is going to be important, because if we're going to see the results of like a Perlin noise, we're going to want to see, we want to be able to zoom out and see what it's done. And yeah, I think that's good. That's very good. And yeah, panning around would be good. I think, yeah, maybe some editing of the UI to move stuff around will be great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna be okay with that. Uh-oh. My phone is dying, so I'm gonna just turn off my webcam. I died. I don't know how long that's been like that. I hope it hasn't been that too long. That looked just goofy. Okay, I'm gonna leave it. Let's go ahead and commit the code. I need to figure out how to start doing this correctly. I thought just checking it would be what we do, but maybe I need to add all this to the version control and then just check it all and then start committing. And we add layer toggles, setting active layers, painting on active layers. Feel like that accurately describes what we did here. And I'm going to go ahead and push these changes. I didn't save. I should save. Might not even push just yet. Yeah, I wonder if I can amend the commit. Okay, cool. And then can I push? Actually, let me just look at how it did that. Yeah, okay, it didn't. I was making sure it didn't add another commit. That's great. That's very, very great. I always like mess up and not, you know, you know, you know what I do. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and push, and then it's over. Be the end of the night. So how do I push? I forget. I got commit. No, one of these. Are you push? Update project. Commit. Oh my gosh! Someone tell me how to push. Okay. Get. Push. Way to hide that. Way in there. Alright, we pushed it to master. We are done with this for tonight. Thanks for joining me if you're here, and I'll catch you guys next time. Adios. Oh, I'm waving, and no one's there to see me. Bye, guys.